This week's episode of the Inside Running Podcast is proudly sponsored by Asics. Energise your runs with their Super Blast shoe, stacked with the bounciest, lightest FF Blast Turbo foam technology for a supercharged ride. Visit asics.com.au or your specialty running retail store to grab your pair today. Enjoy the episode.
Being a skin can bring you so much pain. Now I hear you say you got the best of both ways. Won't you come and take a walk in my shoes and tell me if you
We're on.
Welcome to the Inside Running Podcast, Shoe Geeks, April edition, 2023. Joined by my co-host, Julian Spence over in Anglesey. How you going, Julian?
Hey, mate. I'm good. How are you?
Good. And Thomas DeCanto in Sydney. How you going, mate?
Hello. Yeah, never been better.
Come on, mate. Be honest.
Nah, I'm all right.
So Tommy's
running's not so good.
You would have saw Hamburg. You would have got a bit annoyed not being able to run. Well, seeing the results and good day of Hamburg as well. Do you want to give us a bit of a background what happened in the end? Or I know you were niggling with a bit of a foot niggle last time we spoke to you, which feels like a long time ago, doesn't it?
Yeah, a long time. The foot's totally fine now. No, it was about 2 weeks. About 2 weeks ago, I had a little lower back issue that progressed over it happened probably 3 weeks ago, and then it progressed over the week to pain radiating all around the back, into my groin, lateral hip as well, just to the point where it moved from a niggle to a concern. And so, so I saw my physio and need to get a scan, and it was the Easter break, and so I couldn't really get anywhere to get a scan done. And so I thought, well, the race is in 2 weeks. I got to try and get a session done and still try and train through, see how it goes. And I got halfway through like a bit of a marathon session and couldn't continue. Got to that point where I was about to start altering my gait due to the pain. So I thought, well, that was it. Pulled the pin, and I haven't run since then. Yeah, so I haven't run.
Did you get the scan?
Yeah, no diagnostic yet.
So I did. So they thought it might have been my sacrum. So what I found out about these lumbopelvic scans is they generally just do one region. So they scanned that, and the sacrum was clear. But then I went and saw my sports doctor, who I wasn't able to see earlier, and he thought, look, it may be neck of femur. Which wasn't on the original scan. It was like they class as that's sort of like another region that they don't always do it at the same time. So, I'm basically waiting for another scan just to rule out stress in the femur. So,
damn,
good times.
What are we putting it down?
It's actually,
what's the reason?
It's obviously like as always multifactorial. So, but I reckon mostly just fluctuation in training load. Like if going back looking at my Strava, I've obviously got, which looks a bit wild, not knowing what happened, but it's just like sicknesses and then trying to bounce back from being sick and doing a lot more training the subsequent week. And there was a few times that happened, and then probably just underfueling, to be honest. Just there was probably some days where I knew the race was coming up, and I do want to get down to sort of like a race weight, which is for me around 68 kilos, and underfueled, a little bit of a spike in training load. I'd love to blame some shoes, but I don't think that's.
You did have a week where you went from 1 week from like 180 Ks to about 180 Ks in 1 week.
Yeah, I know, and you commented on that.
Yeah. It's a tough thing to do if you get away. But some people get away
I've
with
done
that.
it before,
Often,
I mean,
don't they?
I've done stuff like that before and got away with it. So it was basically the situation was I didn't really want to go to Hamburg and not run a PB. So I was like, well, it's a bit risky, but I'm just going to do everything I can to get the mileage in and get the training in, and hopefully absorb it.
Yep.
And I didn't absorb it. My body obviously was not happy.
I know
Yeah,
this,
you don't get many.
Oh, sorry. This it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing that you got injured, but this makes Nita happy because no, it does, because the golden rules of training are still being applied to you, and so no one's cheating the golden rules of training here, and so deep down he's pretty satisfied with this.
I think so.
Look,
I think he's happy.
Look, I don't want to see. I don't want to see. I've always been a big Tom Decano fan. I've never been fussed about your rating, Julian, but I've always been a big fan of the Tom Decano results. But so it's a bit sad to see that. But it is, to increase your training week from like 5 hours one week to 13 the next. Like you can't be doing that, Tommy. Not forever. Not at 30. Not at 35, 36 years of age. So.
Science is the real winner here, isn't it? Science is the real winner.
Yeah,
but why the hip? That's an interesting one. You haven't really had that sort of any injuries around there before, have you?
Pain and in this sort of location. So a little bit perplexed, a little bit frustrated, but it's okay.
So you were making eating decisions, trying to lose weight. I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, I was, because I know there's a certain weight where it's a trade-off. Weight makes a big difference to running economy. So I don't really want to be I want to be low body fat percentage. And that's always a difficult thing for me with any build up, is to get to what I feel like is lean and in a way that's safe and healthy without overdoing it. Yeah,
that's right. And there's probably a sweet spot for continuous training. I've had 2 bad stress fractures, and both were at my most minimal weight at both times. You just can't sustain it forever as well. So it'd be nice to be able to lose the mass, but relative to the training doing that, not having to force any other decisions to lose the weight. That's when the risk gets high, isn't it?
Yeah. I can run 180k a week, and if I just eat whatever, I can put on weight at 180k a week.
Surely not.
Crazy. No, I can. I've got some weird slow metabolism, crazy slow. And so it's really frustrating and annoying. But since I've after I was about 25 years old, if I don't watch what I eat, I'll just put on weight.
I don't know, Tom. We give you some shit about this, but I don't know about that. I saw some photos. I saw some photos of you. You looked ridiculously thin a few weeks ago,
mate. It's all the new swimming pool photos that you have, mate. You're a lean as lean.
Doing it for the pool pics.
Yeah, don't know. No,
anyway, I've learned some lessons, so hopefully
must be hard, because you received your Vaporfly 3 literally just before the injury, didn't you?
The last session I did, which I pulled out of, I was wearing them, and I was just loving life. I was like, these shoes are magic, and I was feeling good, and the shoes were feeling really good.
Do you want to walk us through what you felt with the shoe when you put them on? You had expectations. Did it meet them pretty well?
So this is the guy, Vaporfly 3. I was really looking forward to this shoe. So as you guys know, I'm a Vaporfly guy. I don't really gel to the Alpha Fly, so I was really keen to see the new update. And it's not a huge update, so people shouldn't expect anything too different. But to me, that's a good thing, because I liked the previous 2 models a lot. And so basically, what have they done? What they've done with it, it seems they've added a little bit of forefoot stack. So I think the tech spec is maybe just a couple of mil, maybe 2 or 3 mil more in the forefoot. And it seems, and like I was saying to you guys a while back, what I like about the Vaporfly is the fact that it has a rocker that starts sort of back here, and then it gradually builds up through here. So some of these other shoes that you like, Nita, like Alpha, and maybe the Endorphin Elite that we've been using, it's very thick, through here, and then it's got an aggressive taper further forward. To me, the fluidity of the shoe is improved by the early start of the rocker for me in the shoe. So it retains that from the previous models, but what I have found is the plate is maybe a touch stiffer than the others, and that maybe is adding to a feeling of like just more awareness of the rocker. So it's similar sort of position rocker, but it feels a little bit more rocketed.
Do you think that the plate is technically stiffer, or do you think it's because they've changed the curve of the plate?
No, it's stiffer. Like this is the twos. And even I mean, these aren't new. I've done a couple of runs in these. Like it's if the plate itself is a little bit stiffer, I would say.
Yeah,
I don't know why they've done that.
The appeal to me with that one was, I mean, I haven't tried them on yet, but I think they're saying that the plate in the forefoot's a little bit closer to the ground, so it's a bit further away from the foot. So there's more foam between the foot and the plate, which should make it feel superficially softer in the forefoot.
Yeah.
It's been. Sorry, you go on.
No, it does feel like there's a bit more cushion in the shoe.
So does that mean the heel to toe offset's less if they've raised the forefoot?
Yeah, good question. I'm not sure, to be honest. I don't.
You know the specs? Is it 39-34? Is it 39-33, or what's it at?
I actually don't know. I don't know the answer.
Interesting. Yeah. And it's never that accurate anyway, right? It's always a bit of a guess from their behalf. So
yeah.
There's been mixed feedback on the shoe so far. Like, I'm just going to read out text message this morning from Toby, who has got all the super shoes, all of them. One line, it says VF3 average. And I said, boring.
Disappointing Toby.
Boring question mark. Yeah, same shit. It felt better than the two, but compared to what else is out there, it's not even close.
Okay. Yep.
He likes the big
he's loving the endorphin. Yeah, he loves the endorphin elite, doesn't he? And
the alpha.
Yeah, and the alpha. Yep. Yeah.
And
I reckon we're getting two different types of people now, aren't we? We're getting those that like we'll call them the exaggerated super shoes, and those that like the more toned down traditional feeling race shoe.
I'm a Kipton sort of guy.
You're a Calvin guy, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it is interesting though. Like, I think we are starting to see that a fair bit. Like, I took advice from the wife Julie and Bree, and I went ahead and picked up these from the running company in Geelong. This is the Alpha 2. I finally got them. I tried them on before, but I never worn them for a workout. And it's probably well and truly, in the population now, people have seen pictures of the Alpha 3, and so they've just stuck a little bit more foam beneath the pod. So the pod's, globally not quite as big. The outsole is actually quite industrial. Like, I've worn this for about 8K workout this morning, and it's held up really well. If anything, it's a little bit firmer because the outsole is probably a bit more industrial than the first version, maybe a firmer rubber as well, so it doesn't feel quite as soft. And the offset, funnily enough, this one here was where the offset went 39-31. So there was less in the forefoot than the actual first version. And you can feel that a little bit. I reckon it's a bit less pop in the forefoot. But I think, as Bree mentioned, like, the offset sort of makes the transition a little bit quicker. But it feels a bit firmer underfoot. So I think this is the Alpha 1 I've just loved. It'd still be the shoe that I would pick. Tom would struggle with this rear foot rocker through here. I don't hit that part of the shoe too much. There's a lot of rubber there, but look, it feels like the second best shoe on the market outside the Alpha 1, to be completely honest. I know I've enjoyed the Endorphin Elite as well, except for some of the surfaces we train on, like dirt, and it's been a bit wet in the early days. I found the outsole of the Elite just to be a limiting factor in some of the workouts. But otherwise, the shoe feels really good on a dry road. So you've got three shoes. I love the Alpha 1, the Alpha 2, and the Endorphin Elite, and they're all probably the super of the super shoes, aren't they? So they're just a bit more shoe than everything else, and I still battle with the Vaporfly 2. So I'm hoping the Vaporfly 3 is probably a bit of it needs to feel plusher for me, I reckon, under the forefoot. So I'm hoping that's the case with the extra foam between the foot and the plate.
So the two main sort of concerns people have with the Alpha Fly are the blistering through the arch area and the feeling of clunkiness from such a big shoe underfoot and when they're trying to run at pace. Can you address that?
Well, look, when the pace gets up a little bit quicker, for example, I find that even when I'm running at threshold pace, I'm taking a few less strides per minute when I'm wearing this shoe compared to, say, an Elite or even the Vaporfly 1. And that's what they show in the papers as well. Like, you spend longer on the ground in this shoe because it takes longer to compress the whole unit of the shoe and stores and releases more energy. So as you start to run faster, you usually pick a strategy of a length and a rate of stride. And I think as you get faster paces, the rate of stride ends up being one of the higher influences. And this shoe works best by compressing it for a period of time and coming off the ground. So it obviously doesn't work quite as well for a high turnover rate. So that makes sense. It's a bit less stable. Although this one felt more stable than the first version because the outsole was a bit firmer, I think. It almost felt like it brought me back to the middle a touch more and maybe having the higher offset at the rear. The midfoot blistering is interesting. Like I've got a pretty narrow midfoot and a high midfoot, so I don't feel that whatsoever. But once again, every shoe, this is a little heel pitch in there. When you raise the rear foot up relative to the midfoot, you get less blistering in the midfoot. So a heel pitch in this shoe, which it probably doesn't truly need, I don't get any arch rubbing. But funnily enough, if I took the heel pitch out, when I first put the shoe on, you could feel the area of the midfoot. And the second one, especially because it is a bit narrower, the upper and the midfoot. But look, that's, the foot's a bit flatter, more pest planers foot type. I could imagine people have a bit of rubbing on the midfoot in the Alpha Fly. Absolutely. Yeah.
Would you advise someone who has rubbing on the midfoot to put a heel raise in, or do you think that's a bit dangerous if they're not used to it?
It's not dangerous as such, I don't think. So look, if they love the shoe and the shoe works for them by any means, but look, if someone is hitting the forefoot or the midfoot more, you're probably getting more back from the shoe anyway. And that population probably aren't getting midfoot rubbing anyway. So if you sit back on the shoe, and this one has a bit more of a rear foot rocker, so it does promote you to sit back a bit further than the first version. You probably could find another super shoe that's not going to be irritating in the midfoot. Like the Endorphin Elite doesn't irritate me in the midfoot. That's got quite a big baggy upper in the forefoot as well. Like that's, a pretty good similar shoe in terms of it's much firmer, of course, than a 4-foot rocker. But if people love the Alpha Fly and that's the limitation, I would try a 3-4 mil heel raise in the back and see if it just shifts the pressure, a little bit more proximally.
Where's the best place for someone to buy heel raises like that?
Pinnacle Podiatry or Spark.
You just buy them over the counter, or you have to go in for an appointment?
Nah, we just have form-thodic heel pitches, and people come in and speak to the girls and tell them their shoe size. And at the back of ours, we just have shoe sizes there. I'm sure Tom's the same. Sometimes we'll obviously usually do it in consults more than likely, but if people know what they need, they come in and pick up a 4 mil or a 6 mil heel pitch and small, medium, large relative to shoe size, and usually adhere it to the base of the sock liner, or if the sock liner comes out of the shoe. So this is underneath the sock liner of the shoe of a Super Blast. That probably feels a bit more comfortable, but obviously the racing flats, not many sock liners come out. So,
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I've been playing around with my super shoe rotation as well. And because I've been jumping in with Ali's marathon stuff, I'm doing workouts that are a lot longer than I used to do, or that I have done for quite a while. And I'm finding that I'm heading back in the direction of the more traditional race shoe, purely because the exaggerated nature of the big super shoes like Rebellion, Elite, Alpha have caused me sort of weird little issues. And it might be that I'm just in contact with the ground a bit longer, or the fits are all a bit funny, and the rockers are a little bit less natural, perhaps. And so,
do you think that's because you're running paces below what you need to chase the maximal amount of economy out of these shoes? Once you get back to the paces you require, maybe the shoe gives more back to you by then.
It could be. That's a good point. I hadn't really considered that. But what I was finding, though, is the fit is the most influencing factor on whether my run's good rather than the midsole. So I wore Endorphin Elite for 28K tempo, and my foot went numb at about the 20K mark. And then it just got sorer and sorer under the ball of the foot where the plate and the rocker sits. And for me, that's an automatic, like, I'm not going to go back to that for a long workout. It's
so one thing worth discussing, I've had 3 runs between 25 to 30 minutes in the Endorphin Elite. My forefoot's gone numb each time so far. So
yeah, it's just such a stiff shoe, isn't it? Whereas, and then so I've gone back to the RC or the SC Elite V3, which has the nicest fitting upper for me out of everything. And although it's not as exaggerated like toe off, I know I can get through 3-hour run at pace in it, no problems. And I don't have any, like, maybe because it is less exaggerated, my calves have been fine in it. My knees been fine. It feels a little bit more traditional and I don't have to think about it.
That's a really nice transition shoe, though. Out of all the super shoes I've worn, it feels the least aggressive, the most comfortable on top of the foot with the upper. And when you're cruising and picking the pace up to threshold, it's just got a beautiful transition. There's no weight to the shoe either. The rocker starts a long way back. It's a very safe shoe, that shoe. It doesn't feel like a true super shoe, but it's got to be arguably, I'd say, almost the most comfortable super shoe I put on for fit.
Well, it sits in that second tier of I don't like calling it second tier because I actually think that I would prefer to wear it in racing, but it's the SC Elite, the Endorphin Pro. I think the Vaporfly sits in there as well. And then maybe even the Metaspeed Sky. Like it sits in that area and I'm prioritizing from now on the fit of the shoe over pretty much all else.
But this is coming from the guy that used to race 10K races on the road and the Saucony ride.
Marathons. And it was a brilliant trainer. It was probably less thick and padded than the current super shoes.
Probably, yeah.
All right. So how about I just roll through a few shoes that I've been wearing?
Absolutely.
Wore this once. Invincible 3. This one was a one and done for me. So it is so soft and unstable through the back of the shoe, like underneath this red or this orange logo. This just totally like compressed and I fell straight off the shoe, gave me tib post issues, had a hard trouble getting lockdown right. And then the upper, it doesn't feel like, whoops, my bad. The upper just did not fit the shape of my foot whatsoever. So this has been a bit of a flop for me, although we do have a lot of customers who still love it. All right.
Have you, I know I've probably spoken about this before, but have you also seen a load of people coming in with ankle issues?
Actually, even in V1 and V2, I saw a few tib post issues back then. Definitely not as many, but I actually have seen a few more medial foot injury in the and not just like tib post, for example, as well. People sort of getting issues around the tarsal tunnel in the lower part of the medial malleolus, whether they are collapsing or whether they're guarding it a touch more as well. But look, it's, you know, I've actually found simple things like heel pitches to accommodate that relatively well. And depending on how big you are as well, like anyone who comes in who's super lightweight wearing that Invincible, it's a lot of shoe for them. They're not getting away with it either. And a really big person coming in, compressing the midsole foam a lot as well. But someone who hits the forefoot pretty well, we're finding that shoe's a pretty clean shoe still. So it does depend on the individual a lot. So I can understand how you can sell a fair few, but I can also understand people getting medial lateral issues in that shoe. And compared to equivalents, right? So, you know, like the Super Blast would be in the equivalent category. This shoe functions completely different to the Invincible, but it's extremely resilient foam, whereas not super compliant foam like the Invincible is with the Zoom X. So yeah, I think
it's the straight swap is the biggest issue I've seen with it. Like people they're using it as a daily trainer, and they go from, say, back when the ones came out, they went from like a Pegasus to an Invincible, and it was more so probably the change, not necessarily that it's inherently going to cause everyone issues, but they went from a shoe that was more stable to then doing everything in Zoom X foam, which doesn't matter how wide you want to make the base of the shoe. It's still Zoom X. It's still going to crush, you know.
And look, it's not quite the same shoe at the end of the run compared to the start of the run, if that makes sense. Like that foam it's not resilient. So if you're running for 2 hours in that Zoom X foam, it doesn't feel the same at the start. Whereas I'm sure you guys are the same when you wear the Super Blast. This shoe almost gets better as it goes on for the time frame, and it definitely feels like the resilience of this foam feels as good at the end of a 2 hour run as it does at the start. The Invincible, people are probably moving a bit differently at the end of the run compared to the start. The foam's not returning by the end of 2 hours of running. It's more compliant than it is resilient. You know, as a short duration run, so like 0 to 60 minutes or 0 to 45 minutes, I'm sure the Invincible is pretty safe for a lot of people. But it might be a bit tricky if you go a bit longer, I reckon. I'm not sure. I haven't worn it past 45 minutes because I've got too many other shoes to wear past 45 minutes now.
Yeah, well, there's a reason you're not picking it. Yeah, so this here is one of my favorites actually at the moment. This is called the Ultra Lone Peak 7 All Weather. So this is a waterproof shoe. This is the same midsole as the Lone Peak 7, which is their most popular trail running shoe, Ultras. So it's a zero drop shoe. It sits on something or like 28 mil or something of cushion. Relatively cushioned, like compared to what Ultras used to be. You can see, I buckled it a little bit up front there. But you can sort of see here that it's still anatomical fit. So foot sits and splays. And that's important, I reckon, for a waterproof shoe. So this is their own type of waterproofing. And there's you can sort of see like a liner that runs inside the shoe. And so I wear this for walking the dog. So I've thought about it before I got it. I'm like, I'm going to try to put a shoe on that maybe increases the range of motion that my ankle goes through. And this is like almost like a therapy type thing for me. It was very comfortable fit. So I thought, no problems. Having an all weather is great because I walk in the mornings when the grass is all dewy, often go to the beach. So this stops heaps of stuff getting into my shoe. And it's a low. So a lot of this also comes in a mid. The mid, I like the comfort level of, but it did change range of motion through the ankle, like having a cuff on it. And did it again. Now I went a bit overboard because I walk the dog so much. I'm sort of walking probably like 6K a day in it, 3 in the morning, 3 at night. And I did get some, I hit up you boys for some advice, but I got some, I don't know what it was, but top of foot pain. And as soon as I stopped wearing it, or at least wearing it like only once a day, that pain went away. So I reckon you were right about that. Whatever you said, you didn't really give me an answer, but we kind of worked out maybe it was.
I told you it was a stress fracture.
You did, yeah. we don't all have reds, Tom.
It's interesting. Yeah.
So I'm not sure if you boys have a dog walker, but this would be a good one if you were considering it.
Glowing review for a running shoe.
This week's episode of the Inside Running Podcast is proudly sponsored by Asics. Super Blast on, Super Blast off with the Asics Super Blast shoe. Super bouncy FF Blast turbo cushioning on a layer of FF Blast Plus foam for a super energetic ride. Super lightweight FF Blast turbo cushioning, which is Asics' lightest foam yet. Super stacked with Asics' highest midsole ever, offering a standout running experience and head-turning aesthetics. Visit asics.com.au or your specialty running store to grab your pair today.
Well, it's my wife's picked up the Olympus mid GTX, and she says, she's got a broad forefoot. She's had an aroma between 3 and 4, and she's found that to be like the best hiking shoe she's ever worn. So I've got a passenger here, so everyone will say hello. This is Zara. So
Hi,
she wears
Zara.
She wears Zara got what shoes has Zara got on?
She's barefoot. And that's what we do in this household.
Barefoot podiatry.
That's
it. I might just mute you while you guys keep going on. While you keep going, Julian.
Yeah. All right. Well, the last one for me is just like the shoe that I'm doing the bulk of my Ks, and it is the Super Blast. And this is a shoe that I can jog easy in. I can jog long in. I can pick it up. I can even run on some light trails around town. I warm up, cool down in it. I've gone up a half size, not because the shoe fits small, but because I think it's good for me, and I've really enjoyed going up a half size. And my foot health has been better because of it. My nails are all good. I don't feel like I'm smashing the end going downhill. So obviously I haven't worn this one yet, but I've been really happy. I think I'm at like 300K or so in the first version, and it feels like I've got another 300 left.
I tell you what, Julie, I got to address something from the main show. Croaks mentioned wearing this shoe and running a bit quicker in this shoe comparative for long runs. There is no doubt this shoe makes my long runs about 10 seconds per K faster for the same heart rate.
10. Listen
minimum,
to him.
minimum. I ran
10 seconds per K, he reckons.
Ran on the long run with Lockie Scott and the Team Tempo guys over the hills, and this shoe on the roads going up and down hills is it is a good economy improving shoe. I reckon I would run as well in this as I would in the Sky Plus in a race scenario. I reckon. I'm not kidding. I think it cheats the long run. It makes everything a bit easier. I actually think it's the GOAT of all long running shoes I've ever put my foot in by far.
Yeah, no, I like it too.
Yep.
But I'm not going to talk that rubbish that you just did.
Look, all I can do is go by heart rate and effort and
science
by the duration of running.
Science, isn't it?
It's a bit of N equals 1, but it is a shoe that makes long running a bit easier than what it should be. So, yep. You were loving this as well, Tom, but you got a bit of tendonitis on top of your foot. But you would agree? Do you feel like you can get going in this shoe a bit easier than the average traditional long running shoe, or you think that's a bit? I'm overcooking it a bit here.
No, I mean, well, as I always say, people are obsessed with carbon plates. It's not the plate that makes the super shoe; it's the foam. That shoe has the turbo foam. That shoe has the super shoe foam. Yep. So, no, I mean,
it has the rocker a bit as well, and it doesn't weigh anything. So it has all the ingredients for a shoe to improve your running economy, minus the plate. And I don't think the plate's the big deal breaker here.
It's still like 250 grams or something, and
it's not heavy.
There's not plated. It has a wide midsole. There's a lot of contact here. You're dreaming. All it has is good fun.
I wouldn't race in it, but it's a shoe you can run fast in for sure.
If you're running a 430s on your long run, Julian, this shoe, and yes, 440s in your Nimbus 25, I reckon.
I don't like it picking the pace up. I did surges in it last week on the Friday before the race, and it felt sluggish. It felt like there was just too much shoe under my foot. I was sinking into the foam. There was no response or rebound.
Not necessarily picking the pace up. It's just the ability of this foam and rocker to run downhill really quickly and not feel the ground, so you can run faster. It doesn't weigh much, so you can climb well. The rocker's pretty well placed, and by the end of the long run, which a lot of shoes will battle with, with the maybe, I don't know, the weight of the shoe. There's no weight for it. And it's just, the resilience of the foam's good at the end of the shoe, at the end of the long run as well. So it definitely makes my long runs look better than what they are, I reckon. I'm pretty well happy to admit that.
All right. I'll cop it. I like it too. One last shoe. This is my new work shoe. This is the Hoka Transport. So this is like their commuter type, light hiking, walking. I mean, I've run a little bit in it, just up and down the street. It feels pretty good. It's got like this Cordura, it's called upper, so it's a non-abrasion upper, elastic lace, Vibram outer sole, but it's more like a flat Vibram, so it works really well in cities. It's super sticky. This could be one of the most versatile shoes out there for someone who comes in a running store looking for a shoe that's not for running. Super comfortable. Still got the Hoka kind of rocker. So there's therapeutic benefit to the shoe as well, and it looks amazing.
The fit.
There's a couple weird shoes popping up here, Tommy.
I know, there is. Is that a control today?
Yeah. The fit. We didn't even know these were coming.
No, when are we going to get the plug for the what is it called? Walking by the
Next month we'll talk about that.
Yeah. No, but look, there are some good walking shoes out there. You've got some nice ones. People haven't mentioned a few of those as enough as they should, I don't reckon, as well. So,
yeah, you're right. Like, this is the shoe that I've spent 8-10 hours a day in. This is important. What's on your foot for 8 to 10 hours a day? Like, people get around in those shit ass sketches, like go walks and stuff. And they work at the hospital in them, and then they wonder why their feet's sore. They blame the shoe that they go for their 30-minute walk in. No,
well, correct me if I'm wrong, Tommy. You used to wear a bit of Adidas Boost to work, didn't
you? Yeah. What's wrong with that?
Yeah. Oh, nothing. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying. Yeah. No. I'm sure Julian will, though. He thinks that's a bit of a Skechers go run type.
No, different. Very different.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't run in an Ultra Boost. No one runs in them.
I don't know. I see a few around. Yeah.
About Adidas, really?
Nah, that's right. Nah, you see Adidas only on the top podiums of New York City and Boston and London Marathon these days. That's all we see. Yep. So what do you guys got? Any exciting shoes coming up the next? I mean, I'm actually these two shoes. I could probably rotate between these two shoes for my training for the next 6 months and be really, really happy.
Yeah, that's fair. They are both very good, those two.
They are. But I'd really hate to feel the ground after 6 months of wearing just those two shoes after that.
I'm looking forward to. I'm just looking at the incoming shoe list from my store. There's a few that I can't quite mention yet. What am I really looking forward to? Look, the Wave Rider 27, that's a beast of a shoe. We're loving the rate. The Wave Rider has probably been the biggest mover in the store.
And I have a question about that. Has it moved past the Sky in sales? I mean, the Sky.
Big time. Yeah,
okay. Because the Sky was definitely a higher performing shoe, much higher performing shoe in recent models besides the current one.
Yeah, no, the Rider's been awesome. It's more cushion. It's a little more flexible. It's smoother, and the silhouette's really nice. Like, it looks good. People can put that on now in the all black and be like, yeah, this looks like a Nike. Like, and that's what we judge stuff off. From Nike in August, we see it's not August coming up yet. We'll talk about it more. But the Ultra Fly will hit. Oh no, July. The Ultra Fly will hit the store.
That's a performance trail shoe, isn't it?
Yeah.
That'll be good. That'll be really good, I reckon. So,
what about the other brands that bringing out performance trail? Like so
Saucony have the Endorphin Edge.
Are you selling the Edge? How's the Edge selling?
No, it's not selling well at all because no one wants a performance trail shoe. Like,
true.
Trail runners. Yeah. So, I mean, look at what you did. You went and ran you're the best trail runner in the country, right?
What you ran? Lunar races. and so the trail runners that, like, these carbon plated trail shoes, although the plates are designed to work a little bit more friendly on trails, they're still not that comfortable to go on technical stuff in because they're so rigid. And so you need a pretty groomed trail to make it work properly. And the Tecton 2 is from Hoka. That one looks pretty good, but still, I'm not sure whether I'd really call it that much of a performance shoe or not. And look, what would really, in terms of a performance, if you're running a 30, 40K trail race, for example, and you go and wear the Speed Goat versus the Tecton, do you really think there'll be a substantial difference in outcome?
Yeah, probably not really, because the paces you're running at are so slow most of the time anyway. And there'll be some patches where you could do better in the carbon shoe, like the nice flat, firmer sections. But then there'll be sections where the Speed Goat will probably perform better.
Yeah, that's right. It's not a big deal. So, but look, once again, that's just a new variable to a trail running shoe. Will attract a little bit of interest and get a few sales. Whether it booms or not will be built on how busy the market is, isn't it? And trail running is getting a bit busier, so people want to try new things. And you don't see too many alpha flies on the trails, but you still see a couple.
Yeah. This being a Nike performance shoe will go well. No question on that.
Do you think the new mileage shoe, so the new Vomero and things, will take off a bit?
The new Vomero will, but that's way down the track.
Okay.
That's we don't even need to talk about that yet.
Tommy's been waiting for another Nike mileage shoe to get your work done, isn't it? You've been talking about that for about 2 years or 3 years now, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, they've just really dropped the ball on their daily trainers, I think, for me. I know a lot of people love the Invincible. But,
Epic React was the last decent mileage shoe, you reckon?
That was good.
It was good. Yeah.
All right.
Very good. Oh, well, like Tom, best of healing. Hope the MRI shows not too bad and everything goes pretty well. You guys enjoy the beach or whatever you guys do in Sydney / Anglesea during a holiday.
Thanks,
mate. Enjoy the bush.
Enjoy the Bombers.
Oh, yeah.
Anzac Day clash. Yep. This is the second biggest game of the year. So it's part of it every year. Even if we're ordinary, we get to play the second biggest stage of the year. So,
All right. See you.
Good. All right, guys. See you later.
Special thanks to Asics for sponsoring this week's episode of the Inside Running Podcast. The Super Blast shoe adds another super running companion to your Asics lineup. Generous, lightweight cushioning underfoot minimises the impact of repeat training on the body, making it ideal for longer runs, faster attempts and recovery training. Visit asics.com.au to get your pair today.